So you're gearing up for an AWS certification? Well, you've come to the right place. Look, I know the exam can feel like a huge mountain to climb, but today we're going to cut through all that noise. We're going to give you a super focused strategy that'll have you walking into that test center feeling ready for anything. Let's do this. First things first. If you've ever looked at the giant list of AWS services and felt like you're trying to drink from a fire hose, trust me, you are not alone. It's a massive, massive ecosystem, and it is so easy to get completely lost wondering, where do I even begin? But here's the secret. You really don't need to memorize everything. The key is to study smarter, not just harder. So we're going to zero in on 4 core pillars, 4 key areas that show up again and again on the exam. This is the framework you'll use to break down any question they can throw at you. All right, here's our game plan for today, built around those 4 big ideas. We'll kick things off with the Cloud Adoption Framework. Think of it as your strategic blueprint. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the 3 R's of migration. After that, we'll talk about picking the right tools for the job. And finally, and this is a big one, we'll tie it all together by mastering those tricky exam scenarios. This is your path forward. Okay, our first pillar, the AWS Cloud Adoption Framework, or what you'll always hear called the CAF. The absolute best way to think about this is as the master blueprint. It's what organizations use to guide their entire cloud journey from start to finish. And for the exam, you've got to know this blueprint inside and out. And here's what the exam is really digging into. It's not just about the tech, right? It's about how the technology actually serves the business. You need to understand how these 6 different perspectives, from business and people, all the way down to security and operations, how they all have to work together to get an organization truly ready for the cloud. On to our second pillar. So once a company has that strategic blueprint from the CAF, they need a tactical plan to actually move their stuff. This is where the 3 core migration strategies, famously known as the 3 R's, come into the picture. Man, knowing the difference here is just so crucial. Rehosting, that's your quick and simple lift and shift. Replatforming is more of a lift and reshape. You make a few tweaks to get some easy cloud benefits. And then there's refactoring. That's the big one. A complete re-architecture to make an application truly cloud native. I guarantee you exam questions will give you a scenario and ask you to pick the best R based on things like speed, cost, or performance goals. So we have our blueprint and we have our strategy. For pillar number 3, let's talk about tools. A huge part of this exam is testing your ability to look at a problem and pick the exact AWS service designed to solve it, especially when you're talking about migration. In this slide, this is a classic exam decision right here. If a question mentions a huge amount of data and terrible slow internet, your brain should immediately scream AWS Snowball. But if the top priority is moving a live database with practically 0 downtime, then the AWS Database Migration Service, DMS, is going to be your only right answer. Knowing which tool to grab when, that's everything. And that brings us to our 4th and final pillar, which is really where it all comes together. See, the exam isn't really a test of pure memorization. It's a test of application. It's all about whether you can take what you know and use it to solve real-world problems. And I really cannot stress this enough. Just knowing the definition of replatforming or what DMS does, well, that's not going to get you a passing grade. You have to be able to read a paragraph describing some business problem and immediately connect the dots to find the right strategy and the right tool. Practice, practice, practice. It is non-negotiable. Okay, let's put it to the test right now. You see this scenario on your screen. 50 terabytes of data that needs to be moved. And the key detail? Very limited internet. So, based on what we just talked about, what service should be popping into your head? Yep, you got it. If you immediately thought AWS Snowball, you are on the absolute perfect track. That is the exact mental muscle you need to build for this exam. You see the keywords, large data, limited bandwidth, and you instantly connect them to the tool built for that very problem. That's the skill that gets you across the finish line. So that's the framework. By focusing your study time on these 4 pillars, you stop just memorizing a bunch of disconnected facts. Instead, you start building a powerful mental model for solving problems the AWS way. And guess what? That is exactly what the certification exam is designed to test. So one last recap. Pillar 1, master the 6 CAF perspectives to understand the business why. Pillar 2, know the 3 migration R's to understand the strategic how. Pillar 3, get sharp on selecting the right tools for the job. And most importantly, Pillar 4, apply all of it by just relentlessly practicing those real-world scenarios. You now have a clear, actionable plan for your studies. This isn't about trying to boil the ocean, it's all about focus. So the only question left is, where are you going to start? Which of these pillars are you going to dive into first? You've got this. Good luck.